Alright guys, we have a very quick update. Looks like TLO is in fact ready to get the match started. No, I don't want to invite him to a party. I want to invite him to the actual game. God man, when you're on the Korean server, or actually like I think this is a Taiwanese client, it's so hard to read what's going on. I mean, I've added friends, I've invited people to parties that I have no idea who they are. It's hard, but I got TLO in the game. That's the most important part. And I think we are ready to go, guys. So let's go ahead and get the epic music playing, I guess. Let's go ahead and do that. There it is. This is the moment we've been waiting for, guys. LiquidTLO against MVPTaiLs. Make sure both players are ready, of course. My name's Promise. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this commentary. We are in for a best of 7 between LiquidTLO and MVPTaiLs. TLO is ready, Tails is ready, and we are all ready. Let's go ahead and get into game number 1. Being played here on ESV Cloud Kingdom, of course, between LiquidTLO and MVPTaiLs. Alright guys, I hope you all can see the game screen. It is live. We are live with MVPTaiLs and LiquidTLO. Of course, we are on the Korean server. We do not want to have any kind of problems for players complaining about lag, not really not in their groove, I guess you can say, because lag can really be a pain in the butt when you're playing for these kinds of respectful show matches, I guess you can say. But let's go ahead and introduce our players. In the bottom left position, spawning as the orange Protoss player, we do have MVPTaiLs. And we have his opponent in the upper right, going to be playing as the red Zerg opponent, LiquidTLO, of course, a huge fan favorite in the StarCraft 2 foreign community. And Tails, you know what? Tails is definitely not someone that is not known. I know that Tails sort of had a good GSL run in the previous seasons. I believe it was something like season 1 or 2 or 3, something very early on when the GSL was first introduced. Definitely a player to look out for, extremely highly ranked on the Korean Grandmaster server, and really just an underrated player. Now, people like Tails and people like TLO. Well, TLO he's pretty known in the StarCraft 2 community in general, but people like Tails, because there's so many Korean players that are so good, you don't really hear a lot about people like Tails. I don't have any at the top of my head, but a lot of players are just not known, even though they're super good. I mean, MC, for example, players like Stefano, people like Bomber, of course, these people are fan favorites, and they're very good, but you don't hear a lot about the less known Korean players who are still phenomenal, fantastic players. And this is kind of going to be the moment where we're going to be able to see if Tails can shine, or if TLO can just win in this best of 7. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the openings. Now, Tails is known for being an extremely creative player in all matchups, being PvZ, PvT, and of course PvP. The opening we're going to see so far is an extremely standard one. It looks like he's in fact going to go ahead and open up Forge first. He can always get an expansion Nexus here very quickly. But look at what Tails is doing. Tails is immediately going to go for a cannon rush. So this is definitely the advantage of going for a very quick Forge. You're going to be able to go ahead and cannon your opponent's natural. TLO is on top of it. And the build that TLO went is for a much safer build. I believe this was something, maybe like not a 9 pool, maybe like an 11 pool or a 12 pool, something like that. Just given the fact that TLO is now going to have these links on the map, he's going to have complete map control. Now this is a little bit annoying, but the thing that's extremely standard in ZVT is exactly what TLO is doing. He's going to go ahead and take a very quick third expansion. You know, it's okay if he can delay that natural expansion. Of course, it's much better to go ahead and get it down. But his third, which is sort of going to be his natural, is already going to be up. So all he has to do is really kill this cannon. Although MVPTaiLs might be a little bit overcommitting here, going to go ahead and throw down a second cannon. A very interesting decision now from Tails. And TLO should be on top of it. But overall, cannon's going to get cancelled. Meanwhile, back in the base of Tails, we do see the Nexus on its way. Gateway being built as well. Great wall off so far. Most likely just going to build a pylon in this location and just hold off position here with the probe for a little bit. Overlord almost dying there for TLO, but definitely not going to lose the Overlord. I know TLO would not do something like that. And this is something TLO would do. If you guys can see the position of the hatchery, TLO is like, you know what? I don't care. You can go ahead and cannon my natural. I don't even have to build my hatcher here. I'm going to go ahead and build it here. Meanwhile, the third aka the natural, and Tails is just being extremely annoying right now on the economy of TLO, not letting him expand at all. And this is interesting. I mean, he's making it work. Does TLO see this cannon? TLO has no idea. TLO does not see the pylon. Okay, now he's going to go ahead and spot the probe, and 2 cannons are going to get finished. TLO must be like, okay, you need to stop these cannons. This is not cool, man. This is game number 1. You want to go ahead and start off with the cheese. Let's go ahead and do that. Hatchery's almost done. Looks like the hatchery for the 3rd of TLO is completed. Meanwhile, in the main base, he is not going to go ahead and grab any gas, so no kind of speed is going to be preeminent on the map for TLO. Not yet, at least. Although there's a spine caller, and this is a great rush by Tails. He's not all in at all. Back home, his natural is completed. He's going to go ahead and get his cybernetics core, wanting to get his warp gate technology out as quickly as possible. Gateway's finished as well. He did go ahead and grab his 1st and 2nd initial gases here in the main, so he's going to go ahead and invest any kind of resources, any gas into later tech. And the question is, what tech is Tails going to go ahead and go for at this point? I mean, he's done so much damage here to TLO. TLO not even going to go ahead and use the spine collar to try to do some damage here to the cannons. Of course, spines do outrange cannons when you place them in the right decision. Meanwhile, TLO going to make some drones. Going to go ahead and grab 2 gases. Tails is still being annoying. Now Tails is down in supply, 37 out of 60 compared to 45 of TLO. TLO is doing a pretty good job of defending. That natural is still up. He's not really mining because the cannon is still in position, but this is so hard to deal with for TLO. I mean, he cannot. It's so hard to mine with the strategy that Tails is opening for, and I can guarantee you the thing that Tails is doing, he looked on this map and he told himself, okay, I can build a pylon here, I can build some cannons, and it's super annoying. But what is TLO going to follow it up with? He's going to go ahead and get 3 queens on the map, usually of course 4 creep spreading, as well as injecting those hatcheries. Tails meanwhile is going to go ahead and get a Twilight Council, and going to go ahead and research +1 here for the gateway units. Sentries on its way. Very, very important to go ahead and build energy on these sentries going into the mid and the later stages of the game. But TLO is finally going to mine. But this is just, it was not, it's a great defense by TLO, but it's so annoying when you're put in these positions where cannons are just in your natural, in your main, they're just everywhere, and it's super hard to deal with as a Zerg player. Speed on its way right now for TLO, and he is going to go for a Baneling Nest. I don't blame him at all. This is actually a very smart move, and this is kind of the style that TLO plays. He's not going to be the ordinary Zerg player that just macros up and gets 100 drones and, you know, makes roaches and builds Spire and Yutas. He actually just plays so reactively, which is why he's one of the fan favorites and one of the better Zerg players in Europe. Cannon's going to go down now for TLO. Back home in the base of Tails, we are going to see 3 additional gateways being added. Blink is on its way as well for Tails. This might be a very strong 2-base timing follow-up here from the Protoss player. Metabolic boost almost completing for TLO. And the important thing here is going to be the harvester count. TLO sitting on 42 drones, making a bunch of links. Production tab shows he is going to go ahead and get some upgrades, +1 for both his Zerglings. And just drones on the way for TLO. So interesting that he's going to go for a Baneling Nest, but not going to really follow up with an all-in. He's going to be actually way ahead in harvesters right now. He's going to be up to 52 very shortly. There it is, 53 in fact. And Tails might be posturing to take a 3rd. This can either be a fake move from the Protoss player, or he can just straight up take the 3rd. We're just going to have to wait and see. And meanwhile, he's going to add on additional gateways, 1, 2, 3. So he's going to be on 7 gateways. Blink is almost completed. We are also going to see the robotics facility being built here for Tails. Of course, he wants to go ahead and scout out his opponent. This can either be for Immortals, of course, where he can go for a very strong timing, or he can just get an observer and scout his opponent. At this point, Tails did a lot of damage to the economy of TLO. I would not be surprised if he went on and went for a 2-base timing. Meanwhile, it looked like TLO is going to have some Zerglings here. He is going to spot this move, the move out here from Tails, and Tails has a bunch of sentries, a few stalkers, and a lot of zealots. So this is a very scary army that TLO has to deal with immediately. Right away, TLO is going to react. He's going to go ahead and throw some spines at the 3rd expansion. This is so important to defend as a Zerg player. He's going to make some links, 12 links in production. Probe, is the probe going to go down? No. Okay, so Tails is going to save the probe. Definitely going to see some proxy pylons here coming in position. Now TLO needs to hold this. He has links and banelings, and you do not see this a lot. Links and banelings against a very strong 2-base timing here from Tails will work amazingly. We're just going to have to wait and see if TLO can go ahead and get the right units out. Looks like a Stalker, an Overlord is going to go down now for TLO. He's going to get Supply Block, 96 out of 80, not characteristic to see something like that from TLO. Meanwhile, Production tab, 4 links on its way, additional upgrades on the way for TLO. Tails is going to move forward right now. Now take note, he does have Blink, Force Field's going down, TLO not really getting the better engagement in that attack. Down in supply 87 to 111, but TLO needs to pull back against these force fields. You do not want to squeeze your banelings in between the force fields, and Tails is just moving forward with a bunch of units. He does have +1 armor as well as his weapons on the way. TLO gonna force pull drones off of the mineral line, and this is just a lot of units from Tails. Tails with the supply lead 119 to 86. TLO not in the best position, and this is kind of what happens when you have cannons in your base. GG gets called by TLO, so game number 1 is in fact going to go to the Protoss player MVPTaiLs, and that was just game 1, guys. This is the best of 7, of course. First to 4 is going to be successful. Just a fantastic game 1 from the Protoss player at MVPTaiLs. I love the cannon placement. I can guarantee he's practiced that like a million times, exactly positioning where the cannons should be. But overall, just a very, very solid game. And game number 1 is going to go for Tails. We're going to get into game number 2 in just a minute, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get the map choice from TLO, and it is going to be Daybreak. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. Game number 2 coming at you this. Guys, we are going to go ahead and get into game number 2 between LiquidTLO and MVPTaiLs. TLO down 1 game. Tails currently leading the best of 7 series 1-0 against the European Zerg player. We are getting into game number 2, guys. Let us go ahead and get the overlay on its way. Game 2. This is going to be exciting. I'm super excited to see the style that TLO is going to have, and TLO is Terran. Okay, we're gonna have to remake, guys. Of course, TLO did play Terran, but he's not gonna be playing Terran in this best of 7. We're gonna get that game remade. Of course, TLO is a Zerg player. He does not play Terran, although he did. He was a very good Terran player. But we're here for some ZVPs. Let's go ahead and rehost the map. And TLO's choice is gonna be MLG Daybreak for game number 2. I keep inviting to parties. I am so bad when it comes to understanding this language. Alright. Alright, guys, we are ready to go. Take 2, I guess, of game number 2 between LiquidTLO and MVPTaiLs. When the game loads, I want to talk a little bit about the previous match between Tails and TLO. Alright, guys, with that being said, welcome to game number 2 between LiquidTLO up against MVPTaiLs. This is a best of 7 series. Let's go ahead and introduce our players in the upper right position. Spawning as the blue Protoss player, we do have Liquid's own TLO. Let me see if I can do little fancy GSL introductions. I guess I can. I'm really bad at it. And we're going to have his opponent in the bottom left position going to be playing as the red Protoss, of course, part of the team MVP, a very, very successful StarCraft 2 organization. We do have MVPTaiLs. So as I said, I want to talk a little bit about the previous game. Tails' build was very interesting to see. Now a lot of players on those kinds of maps would love to go Nexus first, right? Because you want to have an economic advantage over your opponent, specifically even if you're playing a ZV.